All right, guys, welcome to another edition of Webinar Wednesday, tips to grow your online community. It's great to be with everyone here today. We've got a lot to cover and a lot of great updates to share, so we'll dive right into it. If this is your first time joining, welcome. I'm Jason there on the left, and today we're lucky to be joined by Rick, one of our support specialists here at Brilliant Directories, and also David, our digital strategist. That helps with a lot of the behind the scenes of the webinars, among many other things. So guys, thanks for taking the time to join us in the webinar.
Hello, Jason and everyone. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here today.
Hey everyone, glad to be back with you for this week's webinar and excited to get into this week's presentation.
Awesome, great. I always like to mention it, you guys are already probably members of our Facebook group, but it's a great place to continue the conversations in between webinars. You can head on over to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook, and if you have questions after this webinar or just in general, it's a great place to start discussions. And as I mentioned, there's lots of participation in there, and it's always great to see new names and faces in there as well. So you can go to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook, and not only myself, but a lot of the other users of the Brilliant Directories platform will see you there. And for those of you joining us for the first time, it's great to be with you. Webinar Wednesday is a great platform to discover ways to grow and cultivate your online community. It's really easy with the tools available today to just launch a website and get something online. But growing a community does require some strategy, it does require some love, some care, and some skill. So this is a great place to talk about ways to increase your visitor traffic, how to convert those visitors into members and subscribers. One of my favorite things to talk about is improving the site's navigation. I'm a really strong and firm believer in simple navigation is the key towards to converting visitors into paying members and also getting them to do other actions you want them to do on your site. So if you have questions on these topics, please save them. We will be getting to them a little later in the webinar. And again, if this is your first time joining us, you're in store for lots of value. All right, before we dive into the main topics today, we do have some lab updates to share. And there's actually a lot of things coming down the line coming soon. I just listed a few of them here. But let's dive into the top three there. The first one is we launched an add-on a few weeks ago, the highlight featured members. And the #1 request right after we launched that add-on was to control the text position. So let me show you guys what we've now enabled, and this is available for everyone that has the highlight featured members add-on. So if we go to a site, here's a test site that I have. I'll just click the Search Now button. So prior to this update, what you're seeing here highlighted in green, this is the way to highlight certain membership levels in the search results. And you have an option of adding a text banner. In this case, we're using the word premium, and it would show diagonally across the area here. The problem was, and a lot of people reported it, and it made sense, some logos would get covered by that text. So what we've done is we've created a setting here where you can control the position of this text. You can have it diagonal or above the profile photo. Obviously, the benefit of having it above the profile photo is it won't at all cover the member's face or their logo. So let me show you how you guys can update that. You want to head on over to the Finance tab and go to Manage Products. And in this case, we added it to the premium membership level, so I'll go ahead and edit that product. And if you do have the add-on, if you scroll down, you have this really cool module here that kind of gives you a preview of what the front end will look like. It's more or less accurate. And here is the setting that we have, text position. So across photo will be the standard method that's always been there. And now there's another option above photo. So I'll go ahead and save those changes. And let's refresh the page here. And now we have the same text, except it's not covering the person's face. So it's just another way to do it. It's based on preference and the type of images your members are uploading for their profile photos. What's really cool is this also works in grid view. So if you are utilizing the grid view, whether if the page starts in this view or you have the toggle there available, it does look pretty nice in grid view as well here. All right, moving on. Streaming widgets can now have background colors. So let me quickly show you what that's referencing. Let's go to the home page here on this test site. And on your home page, what's really cool is you can have your hero search module here at the top, but then below that you can have different elements that stream. In this case, photo albums, newest members. There's about 15 different modules you can have, and they all look fine and very organized. But what we've done now is, and let me go there into the design settings. You can now add a subtle background color, which will help in creating different sections on the homepage rather than everything just streaming with the same, in this case, white background color. We can add a small subtle background. So let's do it to the newest members area, actually. So where you would want to go for this is in your design settings and head on over to the homepage layout. And where you want to control the new background colors is in the homepage section order. Not all the elements have the option for the custom section background. For example, the homepage hero divider, we don't see that option here, and that's because the homepage divider settings have an entire their own entire set of settings here. So there are a couple things that don't have them, but the majority of the streaming widgets do, as we can see here. So let's edit the show recent members here. We're going to click use custom section background. So section 4 will have a background. Let's just add a subtle light gray background in this case, and let's give it a little bit of a blue tint, something like that. So I'll just click choose and save changes. So section 4, which I'm using for showing recent members, will now have a subtle blue background on it. And if I just refresh the page, so here we go. So it just helps break up the page a little bit. Maybe you want to bring a little more emphasis to one of the streaming widget sections on your home page. You obviously want to choose a very subtle color just to show a small distinction between the sections, and that will kind of showcase the content a little better rather than everything melting and mixing together if you have a lot of content on your homepage that you're streaming. So super helpful. Really nice setting there. You can obviously match some of the branding elements of your site with a nice subtle color. The next one is actually an update. We had released it and we had to pull it back. There were a couple more quirks that we had to work out, but what you can do is essentially when you're streaming content on your homepage, even if it's member reviews or photo albums or coupons, you could have a member who posted like 5 recent coupons at the same time, and all of that one member's coupons or photo albums are kind of hijacking all the spots on the home page. So with this setting, it's a really nice, simple setting. You can show posts on the home page, but you can say only show one member's post. So a single member can't have multiple posts streaming on the home page. Not only does it add a little more variation, and it's a little more fair for the rest of your members as well. So if you want to enable this, let me close this box here. It's also in the design settings, also in homepage layout. Instead of section order, we're going to go to section order options. And in this case, I'll use photo albums as the example. And it's the last option here, limit 1 post per member. Right now it's set to no. And actually, let's look at these 2 posts and see who the member is. So these 2 posts are from Stacy Smith. She's got this photo album here, and she has this photo album here. So there's 2 posts by Stacy Smith. Let's turn this setting on. So limit 1 post per member, set that to yes, and go ahead and save our changes. And there were only 2 posts on the homepage, both by Stacy, this Gondor University thing. So if we go back to the homepage now, we should just see 1 photo album here, and that's 1 from Stacy, and there are no other photo albums to share on the website at this time. This is just a demo site we have. So really cool way to give more of your members exposure on the homepage, make sure no one's really hijacking all the spots on the homepage, and just give you, the website owner, a little bit more control of your homepage. And some things that are coming soon. I'm not going to show any examples of these just yet. We'll save them for the next webinar. Admin role permissions, this will be available to everyone. If you have staff or teammates working on your site, you'll be able to block them from certain pages in your admin area. What's really nice is you'll be able to save a set of rules and then apply those rules to different teammates that have access to your backend system. Also, if you're working with a developer, perhaps you'd like to prevent them from accessing billing area pages in your admin and things like that. Just keep them focused on the custom code that they need to do. So it'll be super helpful for everyone. It's been highly requested. Another one is the advanced post moderation. This has come up a ton of times. In the Facebook group, we've even created documentation for workarounds. This is going to be an awesome add-on which will let you, the website owner, decide which posts you want to moderate and which post members can freely publish themselves. In the backend system, there will be notifications and places where you can see which posts are awaiting your approval. So that'll be really nice. Also, this one is more of a quality of life. Right now on the front end of the sites, there are a lot of places where someone could potentially log into your site. Let's actually check them out here. So for example, if I wanted to like a post, if I'm not logged in, it prompts me to log in. The logic right now is it will always redirect me to my member dashboard. With this new update coming down the line, the current page will just refresh after logging in. So if the person is trying to purchase a digital download or start a chat with one of your members using the private chat tool or favorite one of the posts, they'll be prompted, of course, with the login screen. But instead of being redirected to the dashboard, they'll stay on the same page so they can continue with the actions that they were planning on doing right before logging in. So that'll be a nice convenience for your members there. And then another one that I'm very excited about is the ability to easily export your form inquiry. So everyone who's filling out your Contact Us form, or if you've cloned the Contact Us form, maybe you've repurposed it for something else, you'll be able to export all those inquiries into a nice Excel file. Maybe you're using the Contact Us form for event registration or something like that. You can then export that list of people who have filled out that form and use it however you need to somewhere else. Maybe you just need to print it out, you want to re-import it into another system, you'll be able to do that very easily. So lots of good things coming down the line. And yeah, if you have more questions about this stuff, feel free to ask in the Facebook group. We'll definitely follow up with you guys there. All right, now I know that I've spoken a lot. We have a great segment today in Rick's Corner, which is always simple solutions for common questions. And I've actually been seeing this in support tickets and in the Facebook group a lot. It's basically, and it's very simple, but there's more to it. That's what Rick's going to cover, is how to add and edit post categories and also how to create direct links to them. So Rick, thanks for taking the time to cover this topic.
Of course, Jason, it's a very useful thing to know, and it also gets confused quite a bit. So I'm happy to dive into it whenever you're ready.
Of course. Let me pass the controls over to you.
You should be able to see the back end of my Brilliant Directories website, right?
Yes, I see that you're in the main dashboard area.
Correct. All right, so basically today what we're going to talk about again are the different categories that you can update for the different types of posts available in your Brilliant Directories website. Basically, what we are, the one that we are going to focus on is going to be the blog posts, just for this example. In case you guys are wondering which categories I'm making reference to, those are the categories that your members will choose when they're posting. So similar to the ones that you see here, which by the way, by default, all Brilliant Directories websites come with those category 1, 2, and 3 on the different types of posts. So keep that in mind. Those are the categories that we're going to be basically updating today.
You're using the website blog articles post type as the example, but this same logic will apply to the categories for photo albums, coupons, job listings, any one of those post types where you could set categories for.
Correct, 100%.
Okay.
The process is basically going to be the same for all the different types of posts, and all the different types of posts again have these categories that you're going to be able to see here. These are on the front end of the website, and these are how they show up. So let's go ahead and start modifying this. To get started, what you'll do is go to the content and open up the edit post settings section. So this one right here. So you're going to open that up. The one again that we're going to focus on, it's going to be the website blog articles. Then again, you can go ahead and use this same process to edit any of the other features. So let's go ahead and hit edit here. So let's open that up. And now we have the post categories options right here. Okay, so these are again the ones that come by default with all different Brilliant Directories websites. What you can do here is just go ahead and delete those, and I'm going to be adding some myself. So I'm going to type up some motorcycle brands just to keep it simple. Honda. All right, so let's go ahead and do those 3. Save the changes. So yeah, it's just saving the changes now. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and check the same sections that we saw before. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the form that your members will fill out when adding a blog. So as you can see here, these are the categories that I updated, the motorcycle brands. And if I go ahead and refresh this here, then we're also going to be seeing the same categories. So these are the 2 different places where those show.
So Rick, I want to mention something actually really important. If you can go back to that search results page that you were just on. So you did in fact go ahead and update the categories. So on the left side, we're seeing all the available categories now for website blogs. But look at our sample blog article in the search results. That was already an existing article that was saved when the category 1 option existed. So in the database, that blog article will always still be category 1. So if you change your category names or remove them, the system doesn't know what you're replacing because it's just a comma separated list. So make sure to go back and it's still saved in the database. So that even though it's not part of the comma separated list, that blog article is still part of category 1. So if you ever wanted to see which blogs need to be updated, the old category is saved there, and then you have to go back and resave the categories with the current available ones that you just did. So just a little troubleshooting advice for you there. If you're changing categories over time, you just want to come back to the older articles and resave them into a valid category.
Perfect. Thank you very much for pointing that out. And that's how it always works, pretty much. Meaning, when you update a category here, again, like you just said, the system will know like this, like what to add this sample to what categories. So you have to do it manually, resave it once the categories have been updated. Now let's go ahead and take this one step further. I'll go ahead and just publish this article real quick. It's going to be called test. I'm going to choose that category. It's going to be today. Let's go ahead and type in here test. And the reason why I'm doing this is just to show you guys how easy it is to pick the link directly to this specific article or this specific category, right? The category that this article belongs to. So test. Let's go ahead and save those changes real quick here. All right, so publish. Let's go ahead and view the post. All right, so no picture, it's very basic, right? However, as you can see here, there's a link, in the breadcrumbs, there's a link to that specific category, meaning that if I click here, I'm going to have a direct link to the website blog that has that category selected. Let's go ahead and copy this link here that we have, which is the URL, including the category that we just added, which is going to be the search results for all blogs that have blog posts that have that category selected. Now, with that, what I can do is I can either create a drop-down here in my main navigation. I can create like a drop-down underneath, let's say the blog here. So I can type in like Ducati or the other brands that I added. So let's go ahead and do that real quick, which is very straightforward. It won't take long. It's a matter of navigating to the toolbox, opening up the menu manager. Again, remember to copy the link with the category. The one that we're going to edit is the main menu. So this one right here, let's click edit. What we're going to do is add a drop down underneath blog here. So a very easy way to do this would be just to clone this menu item. Yes, clone it. Okay. And then what we do is just indent it underneath the main blog post there. So there you go. Open it up and let's move it right here. Let me just save those. There you go. Let me just save those changes again so that the element is underneath the parent element. All right. So now we have the option here to update this to just the brands. So this is going to be Ducati, right? Ducati. And then this one is going to be the link. It could be a direct link. That's okay.
Personally, I recommend removing the full URL. You just need the first / and then everything that comes after it. In the event you update your domain name, you won't have to come back and change those hard linked, the full URLs. All you need is everything after the first /. It keeps things nice and tidy there.
And let's save those changes. All right, so far what we've done is added the categories to the blog posts. We have seen the different places where those categories show up. We've also identified a very easy way in which you can copy the relative link to the category for those blog posts. So now if we go to the live page or the front end, if we refresh, then you guys will see, there you go, there you guys will see that we have the blog and then we have the relative link, which if I click on it, then it's just going to take me to the same search results page. There you go. That's a very easy way. Again, you can do this not only for the blog post like we said at the beginning, you can do it for all the different features available in your Brand Directories website.
So Rick, we have a couple questions here. John is asking, what if you're not using categories? Will it always show a drop down on the side there if you're not? Because if there's no categories to search, how do you get rid of that drop down?
So that's a great question. And let's go ahead and show you guys how easy it is. So these were the categories that we added, right? Remember, we went to edit post settings, we added the website blog feature. If you want to get rid of that drop down, simply go there and get rid of those categories. So if you delete those, you save the changes, then the system will automatically hide the categories drop down from the front end. So let's go ahead and hit OK. If we go here and we refresh, then the search module will just hide the categories drop down menu.
Nice, nice.
Great question, by the way.
All right, we have a couple more questions. Catherine is asking, so members can only choose from the categories that the website owner creates. In other words, they can't add their own categories to that drop-down list.
That is correct. The idea is that you as a directory owner have full control of what the blog is about, what the rest of the features are, right? If you give the member all the ability to add those categories, it's going to be very hard for you to control what they end up adding. People may tend to overuse this, or crazy things might happen. So the idea is you as the directory owner are the one that have control of what categories are shown on .dropdown.
And actually, Catherine, to your point, members still have the ability to enter like keywords, the smart tags. And also their articles can be found by the content they write in the articles. Like if you do a keyword search, it is also not only searching the title, it's also searching the tags, and it's also searching the article content. So the categories are more of a way for you to help keep your site nice and organized for your visitors, while still allowing your members to publish the content that they need to, the user-generated content. Well, Rick, thank you so much. Good stuff there. So Rick, thanks a lot. We'll keep on moving on.
Yeah, no problem, Jason.
All right, guys, we have a really good tip of the week. It actually relates to content and creating shareable content. And David, you put together this list for us, 5 ideas for shareable content. And I know we've talked about shareable content in the past, but this is different. Before we talked about the nuances of what shareable content is. In this tip of the week, you're going to talk about specific types of shareable content and how to cultivate and create it pretty easily.
Yeah, we're going to be going over specific examples this week. So if you've already started getting started with creating content on your website, trying to make it so that it's appealing to your members and informative enough so that they're willing to share it with their friends and their audiences and maybe their customers. Maybe you're starting to run out of ideas of how to keep the content fresh and exciting for the members instead of kind of just recycling previous content. And so hopefully you'll be able to get some good ideas from this. We also have a blog article that we can link to here in the chat for 12 ideas for shareable content. So we're just kind of covering what we think are the most important, the most likely to be shared, the most exciting types of shareable content, as well as ones that aren't too difficult for you to do yourself if you're limited on time or resources.
Yeah, so just as a refresher, what is shareable content? So all sites need content. You have your member directory, that's fine, but having blog articles or members adding articles or events for your local area, or coupons or jobs or property listings or products or photo albums, those are all content. But you as the website owner cannot only rely on your users, especially when you're starting out, to create the content for you. So what we need to do is create shareable content. And the reason it needs to be shareable is it might not go viral, but we need somewhat of an effect where it can have some chance of getting shared among the audience you're trying to serve. So how do we create shareable content? Well, first it has to be relevant to your audience. They have to care about it when they see the title, when they see the image, when they see the caption. It should be easy to read and understand. People have short memory spans these days. They're bombarded with lots of different content all day long. So the easier it is to digest the content, the more encouraged they'll be to want to read it. It's not going to intimidate people. A lot of people don't have time to read long content today, or it could be a long article. It just has to be very captivating. So speaking of captivating, you want it to be informative, exciting, controversial, funny. It has to evoke some emotion from the reader. Otherwise, it's just a bland piece of content. So you can figure out what types of headlines would interest your users. And once you find something that's working, you most likely want to stick with it.
Creating content can be a challenge. It depends largely on what industry you're serving, who your target audience is. But at the end of the day, creating that content is absolutely necessary for the success of your website. You want to continue to make sure that your community is engaged with each other, with you, your website, and you also want to continuously drive new traffic to your site to continue to build that community that you're fostering. So the key here is to create a content creation routine that's easy for you to stick to. Maybe you want to create once a week a list of new articles, videos, whatever the content may be, that you can begin to create and slowly publish. Once you have that list of maybe 10, 20, 30 different topics, you can then begin to work on creating those topics. Maybe you want to start off with something easy to stick to, maybe one piece of content per week. And then as you start to get the hang of it, you start to get a good format down that you can reuse, then maybe you can up your content creation to 3 times a week. If you want to hire a team or maybe some freelancers to do that for you, that's an option, but not a lot of people have those resources to do that. So as long as you can create a good routine that you can stick to where you're publishing new content at somewhat of a consistent basis, then you should be fine.
I think the key here is, creating content, like writing a blog article, it requires a lot of time, mental energy, and resources to commit that time to writing the article. So hopefully with these ideas, it creates somewhat of a shortcut to expedite it, save you time, and make it a little easier to overcome the obstacles of wanting to write content. Essentially with these tips, hopefully the content will create itself. It just pours out of you because it's so easy to create it. You don't have to think too much. And also on that note that David mentioned, there are some amazing writers out there, freelancers. You can give them a topic and a format. And again, if you do have the resources, anywhere from 10 to $50 an article. It just depends how many words you're asking them to write and what your needs are exactly. You can outsource that kind of help for your site. And when you find, you could maybe try 3 or 4 different freelancers, give them all topics, and then stick with 1 or 2 of them that you like the best. And you don't need 10 articles a week. Maybe you just have them write 4 pieces of good quality content for your site per week. But what we're going to talk about in this is not just about writing articles, it's alternative types of content that you can create.
And the last thing before we get into this list that I want to preface is that you don't need to strictly focus on shareable content. You still want to keep your current members and users engaged and provide them with quality content that's useful to them. So if you can think of certain pieces of content that would be useful to your community, but may not be the most shareable kinds of content, still put them out, fit them into your content creation schedule, because they'll keep your current members and users happy, which is still important. And then you can, in addition, publish those shareable pieces of content to expand your user base. So you want to keep kind of both sides of that scale even. Creating content that keeps your existing members happy while also creating shareable content that can bring in new members. So this first idea that we have here are cheat sheets and infographics. Infographics, if you're a little tech savvy and you're creative and you have the time to create them, but cheat sheets are pretty easy. So the idea behind this is that some users and readers, they don't want to read long pieces of text. Even if you can break the text down into different segments and separate blocks of text with images, it can still be cumbersome, time consuming, and takes more effort to go through those long pieces of text. So in order to kind of condense that and make it more easier to digest as well as more shareable, instead of creating long pieces of text, you can break them down into checklists, listicles, which here we call short organized lists. And again, infographics if you have the time. Canva is a great resource where you can create image-based pieces of content. Ultimately, the thing here is that you want to provide essential information in these short pieces of content. You don't want to make them too bloated. You want to give the readers the information they want as quickly and easily as possible. And that way, hopefully, they'll come back to your website in the future to dig further into the other information that you have available to them.
And actually, cheat sheets and infographics, especially when they're in image format, those are great to share on social media. And if it's high value for the industry you're sharing, your audience would have no problem sharing it, resharing it, and reposting it on their own profiles.
Yeah, especially if you can advertise it in a way that it's an exclusive resource. So, for example, a checklist. If you have a real estate directory, maybe one piece of shareable content that you can create is, checklist before listing your house for sale or something like that. And that would be a piece of content that should be pretty shareable on social media. It probably wouldn't be too useful to the majority of your members since they're already familiar with the industry, but for new people who aren't familiar with selling or buying houses, that piece of content may be of value.
And I just did a Google for sample infographics. And again, tools like canva.com, it's free to sign up. They have thousands of templates where you can easily create things like this. So I mean, look at this. It just says study tips and it's got these 3 tips on it. It could be a little more elaborate like this one. But besides Canva, there's tons of tools out there that have all these free templates. All you have to do is almost just fill in the blanks and you can create these resources for your industry. And again, this is alternative content as opposed to like just writing a blog article, which is a more conventional form of writing content. So look how fun these look. These are just samples here, and they could be pretty straightforward here. 5 reasons infographics are effective. It's basically really cool text, some graphics, and then some titles and supportive text to go with it. So those are some examples of some infographics.
So when publishing interviews, you do want to have the interview in a text-based form. So you can format this just in the simple Q&A format. You can have your question that you're asking the person you're interviewing in bold and have their answer just right below that in normal text. This is great for SEO, so you absolutely still want to have text associated with interviews, but if you're able to get some form of media version of the interview, then definitely do that. You can do strictly audio, that's perfectly fine. You can publish the audio version of an interview on SoundCloud, or you could use YouTube to either publish just an audio version with maybe just an image of your face and the interviewee's face, or if you're able to perform an interview maybe over video chat on Skype, or if you're in the same location as the person you're interviewing and you can record it on a camera, you can publish the video version of the interview on YouTube as well. So this gives a more shareable version of the interview, having that media format, and then you can further splice the interview down into segments. So maybe if the person you're interviewing has 30 seconds or a minute of really valuable information for your target audience, you can just splice that one section out, publish that on its own, and then that would make a much better shareable piece of content compared to the interview as a whole.
All right, now I know what everyone's thinking here. I don't know how to record audio. I don't know how to upload it to YouTube. I don't know what SoundCloud is. Who do I interview in the first place? So interviews are really good because of David, what they're saying. It's an alternative form of content. Now, the easiest thing you can do is select a member or an icon or guru in your industry and tell them that our people are really interested in learning more about you, or you've been selected to be showcased in our blog. Would you be interested in being showcased in our blog? And then say, okay, fill out this questionnaire and email it back to us. And maybe it has 10 questions in there about who they are, their background, how they got started, their biggest obstacles that they've overcome, just things that tell them, that share a little bit about them and their journey in your market. You get those questions back, and then you turn it into an article. They're going to share it with their followers. Your followers are going to wonder how they can get showcased, and it creates a great symbiotic relationship between your members and other people in the industry. For recordings, if you don't know how to record and things like that, there's lots of free tools there. I know that you can use GoToMeeting, and I don't know if they have a free trial, but it basically lets you get on a call with someone and you can record that call, just like we record these webinars. So you can record the audio that way and just get on a web call with them. There's also things like Loom, I believe. You can Google just video recording and things like that. So if you could just get someone on a call, you can just record your screen. You can have a splash title, so when you upload it to YouTube, it just has that image playing, and the whole time you could just say who the interview is. But those are really easy ways to create content, because you have a preset of questions, questions that you use maybe always for the same format, and you just ask the questions and have a fireside chat with someone. Emailing them the questions is the easiest thing, but interviews are a great way to show that you're connecting to your community and that you care about your members, and you're trying to humanize yourself and your members for the rest of the people that are following you. So consider interviews as a really great way to create content, shareable content, because it's involving everyone in the process.
And actually, the simplest way to probably record an interview would just be on your smartphone. I don't think it's a stretch to assume that the vast majority of us now have smartphones. Most smartphones now have an application by default where you can record audio. So what you could do is, if you're conducting the interview on your phone, you could just put the call on speakerphone, and then in the background run the audio recording application, and then just record the audio that way. And then if you're uploading to YouTube, for example, YouTube lets you upload directly from your phone. And of course, there's editing applications now for your smartphones as well. So if you wanted to add an image on top of the audio, you could do that, and then strictly from there upload the video to YouTube all on your phone. So that's a really simple, low cost, efficient way to conduct and share interviews as well. Now on to the third type of shareable content, downloads. So these you really want to be industry related. You don't want to stray too far away from the goals of your target audience. You want the downloads that you're offering to be applicable not only to your members, but also to general users of your website. For example, going back to the real estate example, you could have ebooks specifically for retailers, maybe how to best stage a house to increase the likelihood of selling. You could also have one on the flip side for buyers. Look at these aspects of a house before buying or before placing an offer. And so you can offer these downloads in the form of ebooks, worksheets, guides, blueprints, however you want to advertise them and whatever term you think would best appeal to the target audience.
Hey, Dave, so also I wanted to share something. I think in a previous webinar, we talked about lead magnets, because basically creating a download is what's called a lead magnet. It's a way to bring people to your site and attract them with a lead magnet. I'm going to share this link here. It shows you with the code how to kind of create a simple page. You can obviously have the text and the image be whatever you want it to be. How to create the click to download button, and then just simple code here. You could just change the text out. It's all going to be formatted perfectly. Or we have Esteban on the line here. You could use BD blocks. Now, we talked about this in previous webinars. You can all go to bdblocks.com to create landing pages for your downloadable products, but I'll share this link as well. And I'll share the link for BD blocks so you can create amazing landing pages, and these can be landing pages for the different downloads that you want to offer. So I'll share this in the chat here. You guys are all getting these links in the chat there. But yeah, it's really easy to create those assets and then create landing pages where people can exchange their email address for access to these ebooks and guides and worksheets.
Yeah, just as an additional option when it comes to downloads, free downloads are going to be really your only option if your goal is to make these shareable, if you want people to share them. However, if you want to sell premium downloads, we do have the Sell Digital Downloads add-on now. That's probably mainly going to be beneficial for your existing members. They already trust you. They already know what to expect from your online community. And so they'll be more likely to pay for those downloads that you're offering. Strictly for the shareable aspect of it, you're going to want to make sure that you provide these downloads for free so that anybody who does share it, anybody they're sharing it with, will also be able to download these resources. And now videos. So videos are more important than ever now when it comes to anything having to do online. They're shared 12 times more than just your typical text-based articles, and 72% of consumers actually prefer videos when it comes to marketing elements. And ultimately, that's what we're using these shareable pieces of content for, is to market your online communities. So video is extremely important now. You're going to want to make sure that your videos are both informative and useful to your target audience. Here at the bottom of the slide, we have the ideal shareable video length for different platforms. This is going to depend on who your target audience is, which social platforms they use the most. You can see here on Instagram, that would probably be good for maybe real estate, fitness, things that are more visually oriented. Videos for that platform, you really want to keep to about 30 seconds to increase the shareability of them. Facebook, you can keep to about a minute, and then YouTube, which obviously a platform specifically meant for watching videos. To really make sure a video will be shared, you're going to want to still keep it short, about 2 minutes. However, going back to my preface of this whole presentation, you can create a video that's 10, 20, 30 minutes long if it's going to be of value and useful to your existing members. In this presentation, though, we're strictly kind of keeping this all within that shareable umbrella. So for the shareable videos, to try to get those new people into your community, you're going to want to keep the information short, sweet, condensed, not waste a lot of their time, try to get them sucked in as quickly as possible. But for information relevant to your existing members, feel free to disregard these video lengths, because really for them, you want to provide them with the most detailed, clear, accessible information as possible, because that's what they expect when they're signing up for your community website.
And here's a tip also. We create these video segments in the webinars with the tip of the weeks. And what we've actually done with a couple of these is we add them to our blog, and usually we would just post the video. Now we're actually creating a supportive article to go along with the video that we created. So with that said, creating videos can sometimes be labor intensive, a little complicated as well, and especially you don't know what to talk about. But imagine if you turned one of the infographics you created and it had like 5 pieces of information, and you just created a video where you're just talking about the infographic and just verbally saying what's on the same infographic. So now you have an infographic, you have a supportive video that you might elaborate a little bit more on the points that are on the infographic, but then you can create a cohesive campaign around some type of shareable content that you're trying to create for your community. So it doesn't always have to be new stuff that you're coming up with. You can always repurpose stuff that you've already created and just turn it into a different format.
Yeah, that's an excellent tip. And again, going back to the feeling of maybe, this might be a little daunting if you're not familiar with creating videos. We all have smartphones now with selfie cameras. It's incredibly easy, at least when you're just getting started. You can record yourself going over, like Jason said, if you already have an infographic, maybe 5 tips to sell your house or whatever piece of content you're making the video for. And then you can either just post that on its own, or to make it more shareable, you can make it a little bit more exciting. You can go on YouTube and look for tutorials on maybe how to add background music to a video, how to make an introduction slide for a video, and kind of get those basic edits done, and then you can upload that to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever the platform of your choice is, just to make it a little bit more likely to be shared, liven it up a little bit. But ultimately, you don't need to go out there and you don't need to run down to Best Buy or Circuit City or any of your local stores and buy a video camera anymore. You can just use the technology that we have in our pockets.
And just 2 tips. If you're just starting out with this and not super familiar with it, with any of them, the infographics, downloads, shorter is better, less is more, and don't worry about anything being perfect. Just get your first pieces of content out there and just work towards improving each time you create a new piece of content.
Yeah, the best way to learn is just through trial and error. Your existing members will appreciate the effort that you're putting into creating these new forms of content for them. And then the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it, the more you'll learn, the more hopefully you'll become interested in it, and you may look up tutorials on YouTube or helpful articles on Google for how to improve your skills in creating these other forms of content to further improve your skills. So there is a learning curve with some of this, but the key is to just get started and put out those first pieces of content. So moving on to the last piece of shareable content here, going back to the basics, we have articles. However, instead of just posting plain piece of text, you can change up the format of your articles. You can create written tutorials with a lot of included images to break up the text and make it more interesting. You can write listicles. So instead of writing just paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, whatever the topic may be, you can just turn it into a list. So top 10 ways to increase curb appeal. Next up, you could do industry news. This is typically, should typically just be a pretty short piece of content giving your members whatever is new in the industry that you're targeting. You could also feature member submitted articles. So you can ask your members to submit you articles, and you may need to clean them up a little bit, maybe reformat them, maybe make them a little bit shorter or edit some grammar. But this is a really good way to streamline your content creation process. You'll need to put in less effort and less work, and your members will appreciate it because at the end of the article, you can say who the author of the article was. You can link back to their profile. They'll get credit for it. They may, if they have any followers online, they may share it with their followers or their customers, and it'll help get them more engaged in your website as well. And then the last type of article are member spotlights. This kind of goes hand in hand with the interviews piece of content that we covered a few slides ago. But you can feature specific members in your community, maybe ones who are posting a lot of content or really standing out, maybe even just new members. You can get some background information on them, write a short little piece about them, why they stand out, link to their website or any of their social media channels, and that will, again, get them really excited about your website, maybe reinvigorate them, and they'll be more likely to share that with any of their potential clients or customers or their friends and family, and then you may end up getting new members because of that. And then lastly, just an overall tip here with general text articles is make sure you break them up with images, and also make sure to break up the text with headings. So instead of having paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, you can have paragraphs, but make sure you split the articles up into different sections with different headings, and then also break those up further with images. It just really helps to make text articles more digestible.
So here's an example on our own blog on Brilliant Directories. We had a tip of the week here, and the video's here. I think it was last week's tip of the week. And we actually had a supportive article which not just summarizes what's in the video, but adds additional supportive material that's related to the video. So not only is the video shareable, now there's an article here which helps with some SEO on our Brilliant Directories website on this topic. And as David mentioned, there's some headings here. Granted, I think we could use our own tip here and maybe add some images into this freshly written article. Now, what's cool about articles is you can always come back and update them as well. The things on the internet, you can come back and update, for example, in things in your blog. So great tips there, David. Thank you for sharing them. Let's just recap real quick. Articles, videos, downloads, interviews, cheat sheets, and infographics. And there's lots more, actually. These are just the top 5. What I do recommend, I know David shared a link already, but let me go to our blog. We actually have a full list of 12 ideas of shareable content. And just in case you want to check out this list, and here we do have live webinars, content archives, member status updates, and a lot more here as well. So head on over to our site and you can get the full list of shareable content ideas there. We have a couple minutes. We could take a question or two. Our good friend Albert, I'll go ahead and unmute you. You with us there? I see we can hear you now.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, so thank you, Jason and everybody. I wanted to learn more about the SEO, how to get the site to start ranking on Google.
Okay. I have a few tips for you. This is a new site you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A couple things. I'm going to share yet another link in the thing here, the chat. Give me a moment. If you search our blog for SEO, we have a few different topics here. Check this one out, optimizing your homepage SEO for Google. Okay, it's the third option on this page. It basically runs you through what you can do on your homepage, but the idea is those things that we mentioned there, you can use that same methodology on your internal pages as well. And then it also, I believe, shows you how to actually submit your site to Google. Let me share another video with you. I think it's on here. David, did we have the sitemap video on here? Yep, how to submit your site, how to submit your website and sitemap to Google Search Console. You're going to want to do this also. So in this video, I believe Rick covered this in Rick's Corner. It says how to submit a brand new site to Google, so Google can start first know about the site and start indexing the pages into Google search engines. So those would be my best 2 recommendations for you starting out, Albert.
Okay, perfect. Good information.
All right.
Great webinar. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Good stuff there. It was a great webinar. David, thank you so much for the segment today. And Rick, also thank you for Rick's Corner. I know that's going to be a really valuable segment once we edit that to be its own. If you have additional questions for us, please join us in our Facebook group. You can go to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook. Next webinar will be in 2 weeks. I believe this was webinar 72. So on behalf of myself, Rick, and David, thank you for joining us today, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks and have a brilliant and productive week. Take care, guys.